We created machines to think like us, but what happens when they start thinking better than us? Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that every decision you make, every song you listen to, every post you read online has been quietly shaped by something that doesn't sleep, doesn't feel, and doesn't forget. It's not human, but somehow it's learning to think like one. For decades, scientists have chased a single dream: to build a machine that can truly think. What started as a wild fantasy in dusty university labs has now become one of the most powerful forces on Earth. From predicting your next move online to writing code, art, and even music, artificial intelligence has evolved faster than anyone ever imagined. But how did we get here? How did a few lines of code turn into machines that can outthink us in ways we never expected? To find the answer, we have to go back, way before ChatGPT, before the internet, even before computers could play a simple game of checkers. Because the story of AI isn't just about technology, it's about the human obsession with creating something that mirrors ourselves. And that obsession would take us on one of the most unpredictable journeys in modern history. Long before artificial intelligence was a buzzword, humans were already dreaming of artificial minds. Ancient myths spoke of talking statues and mechanical beings built by gods, proof that the desire to create intelligence isn't new. It's ancient. It's just been waiting for the right tools. Fast forward to the 1940s. The world was rebuilding after war, and a new kind of machine was born: the computer. It was massive, loud, and slow, but it could calculate faster than any person alive. To the scientists of that time, that was a spark, a sign that maybe, just maybe, machines could do more than math. Then came Alan Turing, a British mathematician who changed everything. He asked a question no one had seriously asked before: can machines think? That single question launched a revolution. Turing even imagined a test, now called the Turing test, to see if a computer could think well enough to fool a human. By the mid-1950s, a small group of researchers gathered at Dartmouth College with one bold goal: to create a machine that could reason, learn, and adapt, just like the human brain. That meeting, known as the Dartmouth Conference, officially gave birth to artificial intelligence. Their confidence was unreal. One founder predicted that within a generation, computers would rival human intelligence. It sounded crazy, but that confidence fueled an explosion of innovation. Machines began learning to play checkers, solve math problems, and even prove theorems, things that once seemed impossible. But here's the twist. The more progress they made, the more they realized how little they actually knew about intelligence itself. And soon, that realization would lead to the first big shock in AI's history. By the 1960s, the world was buzzing with excitement. Newspapers claimed we were just years away from intelligent robots walking among us. Governments poured money into research labs. Computers were getting faster, scientists were getting bolder, and the dream of human-level AI felt close enough to touch. Early programs like ELIZA, which mimicked a psychotherapist, and Char-DLU, which could understand simple English commands, gave people the illusion that true intelligence was right around the corner. It felt like humanity had cracked the code, but behind the scenes, something wasn't adding up. These machines weren't thinking, they were just following patterns. Limited, brittle, easily broken. Every new challenge exposed how fragile the technology really was. When governments realized how far we actually were from real intelligence, funding vanished almost overnight. Projects shut down, labs closed, and suddenly, artificial intelligence became a phrase researchers avoided. It was the first major crash, what we now call the AI winter. For nearly a decade, AI went silent. The world moved on, and many believed the dream had died. But a few scientists refused to give up. They saw potential hidden in the ashes, a belief that maybe intelligence couldn't be programmed with rules. Maybe it had to be learned, and that belief would change everything. Just when it seemed like artificial intelligence had been buried for good, a new idea started spreading through research labs, one inspired not by logic or math, but by the human brain itself. In the 1980s, scientists began experimenting with something called neural networks, computer systems designed to mimic how our neurons connect and communicate. The concept was simple but powerful. Instead of programming a machine step by step, you'd let it learn patterns on its own. At first, most people thought it was nonsense. Neural networks were slow, expensive, and barely worked. But a few pioneers, names like Geoffrey Hinton, Yann LeCun, and Yoshua Bengio, refused to let the idea die. They believed that if computers ever became truly intelligent, it would happen through learning, not coding. For decades, they worked quietly, refining algorithms, improving models, and waiting for technology to catch up. Then, around the early 2000s, something big happened. Data exploded. The internet created oceans of information. And suddenly, neural networks had the fuel they needed to grow smarter. When more powerful processors and GPUs arrived, everything clicked. Machines could finally handle the massive calculations neural networks required. And soon, the results were jaw-dropping. Artificial intelligence could now recognize faces, translate languages, and even beat humans at complex games like chess, something experts once thought would take a century. That victory wasn't just a win, it was a message. AI is back, and this time it's unstoppable. But the real shock was still to come, because these neural networks were about to evolve into something far more capable, something that could not only learn patterns, but create them. By the 2010s, artificial intelligence wasn't just learning, it was imagining. That's when a new wave of technology hit, generative AI. Instead of simply analyzing data, these systems began producing their own text, images, music, even human-like voices. Suddenly, machines weren't just following orders, they were creating worlds from scratch. It started quietly with models like GPT and Midjourney, tools that could write stories, draw realistic images, or design concepts in seconds. What used to take artists, writers, and programmers hours could now be done by typing a single sentence. At first, people thought it was just a fun gimmick, but when ChatGPT dropped in late 2022, everything changed overnight. Within months, it became one of the fastest growing technologies in history, capable of writing essays, generating code, and holding conversations that felt almost too real. Suddenly, artificial intelligence wasn't confined to research labs anymore. It was in everyone's hands. Students used it to study, creators used it to make content, and companies used it to reshape entire industries. AI was no longer a futuristic concept. It was here, evolving in real time, changing how we work, think, and even dream. But as the hype grew, so did the fear. People started asking, if it can create like us, what happens when it creates better than us? That question would ignite one of the biggest debates of our generation, about control, ethics, and the unknown future we're racing toward. As AI's power exploded, so did the unease. What began as curiosity was turning into a global reckoning. Some experts warned that AI could reach a point where it no longer needed us, a level of intelligence that could rewrite its own code, learn infinitely, and make decisions beyond human control. Others called it science fiction, but deep down, people started to wonder, what if it's not? Big tech companies began racing to build the most advanced models the world had ever seen, systems so capable they could write, design, reason, and even deceive. Behind the scenes, insiders whispered about secret projects, next-gen AIs trained with unimaginable data, and private tests that raised more questions than answers. Then came the ethical storm: deepfakes, misinformation, job automation, fears that creative industries could collapse overnight. Governments scrambled to regulate, companies promised safety, even as they pushed the limits further. And yet, despite all the warnings, humanity couldn't stop. Because it isn't just a tool anymore, it's a mirror, reflecting our desire to create something greater than ourselves. Today, AI writes music, paints portraits, solves complex equations, and even predicts diseases. But what it's really doing is teaching us about us, how we think, how we learn, and how fragile our idea of intelligence really is. So here's the real question: are we controlling AI, or is AI quietly learning how to control us? Because one thing's certain, the evolution of AI isn't slowing down. It's only just begun. From the dusty halls of 1950s universities to the glowing screens in your pocket today, the story of artificial intelligence is really the story of human ambition, our endless drive to push the limits of what's possible. We started with machines that could barely count and ended up with ones that can think, learn, and create. What once sounded like science fiction has quietly become part of everyday life, recommending what we watch, what we buy, even how we live. But here's the thing, AI's evolution isn't just about technology, it's about us. Every new advancement reflects our curiosity, our fears, and our hunger to build something that can understand us, maybe even replace us. The truth is, we're standing on the edge of something no generation before us has faced, a world where intelligence isn't limited to biology. And whether that becomes humanity's greatest achievement or its biggest mistake will depend on what we do next. Because the age of artificial intelligence isn't coming, it's already here. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.